You are listening to the Slowly Dying Podcast with Bekah.
Check yourself. Check. Week after I cried at the bowling alley.
And Bronte.
Oh my God, what have I done?
What do you mean? I haven't heard from you in months. We talk about everything and anything.
I could tell she was frustrated just by how she was throwing I'm the only one who does it the best.
And turn in every Monday for a brand new episode.
I did not know though. What? Like you were freaking out. Let's get it popping. That's what I'm talking about.
What's popping, guys? It's Bekah, and I am back on the mic, and it's just myself this time without Bronte. Gonna miss her, but I wanted to jump on here and talk about something that I've been wanting to do kind of for a long time, but I just didn't know how to approach it because it's such a sensitive topic. But I think it needs to be talked about more. I've noticed a lot of like people who are like single parents, you know, if they find out that you're a single parent, they'll be like, oh, well, I'm having this issue. And it's like interesting because it's like, well, I'm having the same issue. So I just feel like I just wanted to make it like kind of like a series, different kind of rants. I don't know how long the series is going to be. It might be like 10 rants. It might be 3 rants. I don't know. It's just kind of like what I feel. But it's called Co-Parenting. And I wanted to make the first series kind of like what is co-parenting and why it's so hard. But before I jump into that, I want to start with this is, you know, as you guys know, I left my son's father because of like some cheating and like other things that happened. I shared a little bit in our past rants of like the narcissist. So this is not a diss on him. This is not anything. This is just in general in my story. And I think a lot of people can relate. So I just want to put that out there. You know, if he listens to it and he doesn't like it, well, that's too bad. So anyway, so I just wanted to make sure that's clear. And then so let's just jump right in. So what is co-parenting? So it's when you're not with the other person that you had a child with, and you're trying to parent like you would if you guys were together, I guess, if that makes any sense. I don't know if that makes any sense, but whatever. You still have to be a parent. You know, the kid still has a mom, the kid still has a dad. Like, the kid loves the mom and the dad equally. Like, this is not a competition. And sometimes I feel like it becomes a competition or it becomes toxic. And I think sometimes, like, a lot of people don't know how to handle this because, like, in high school, they don't teach you this. There's no open manual and be like, this is the right way to co-parenting. There are so many different co-parenting styles. It's crazy. Some people get along. Like, some people break up and they're like, oh, like, they have no issues at all, and great for them, because that's not my story. I think because there was like toxic and cheating, and there was a lot of things that went on that, you know, I choose not to share about. I mean, like I said, I've shared some, but I haven't shared all. But it's still like, I have my son and he still needs his dad, and, you know, it is what it is. Love Willie so much. But anyway. And I think it's very hard because a lot of times there's feelings involved. And I'm not talking about like, oh, you miss the person, you want to be with them, you know, and the things that I'm going to talk about does not always mean that it is between me and my father's son. So just letting you guys know, some of this is general. Some of this is, you know, I found through other people's issues. So don't think because I'm sharing this with you guys, it's all about me and my father's son. That's not the case. Some of it is, some of it's not. So I just want to make sure that's 100% clear as well. Sometimes there's feelings involved, you know, sometimes you're like, oh, well, you know, he's changed or she's changed, you know, and I've told you guys this all the time. People don't change. Maybe 3% of the population actually changes. Stop thinking that people become this beautiful person. It does not work like that. Change takes years. Change takes hard work. Okay, so if the person really did change, good for them, but people usually don't change. People usually stay who they are to their core. Just putting that out there as well. Sometimes a person can't stand the other person. You know, like I said, like in my case, there's cheating and, you know, there's a lot of other things. And I'm sure like with other people, there might be like physical abuse, emotional abuse, you know, and sometimes you just can't get past that. So sometimes maybe you need to go to therapy, you know, so you guys can work on your co-parenting. I think that's you know, when I talk to my friends and like just random people and just like whatever I talk to other people about it, I think that's one of the biggest things is like what happened in the past. And I hate when people are like, oh, just let it go. You cannot let that go. If you've had a traumatic experience, you actually have to digest it and process it and heal from that. You know, I think when you have a kid with somebody, you're like, oh, you're just supposed to put the kid first, which, you know, you are. And I get that. Like Willie comes 100% before me every single time, you know, but again, sometimes you need to take care of yourself, because if you're not taking care of your mental state, how are you supposed to help your kid grow and develop into this beautiful person? Sometimes you have to put yourself first. You know what I mean? Because sometimes, and this is what I realized, especially when I went to school, sometimes putting yourself first is putting the child first. Because in the long term, you know, whatever long-term lifespan, you're going to be healthy and happy. So your children are going to be healthy and happy. You know what I mean? So, sorry guys, this is kind of weird talk. I feel like I'm talking to myself because, you know, Bronte, we bounce back with ideas, but it is a little weird doing rants sometimes. So bear with me. I think another reason why is people don't see eye to eye on parenting styles. You know, like some parents are more strict. Some parents are like, oh, well, I'd rather have my child do this sport. You know, you just don't agree, you know, and I think that's hard. That's why communication, and I want to do a rant on communication, because I could do like 4,000 rants on communication. It still wouldn't be enough, because if you don't have good communication and you're not willing to like hear what your other, you know, co-parent says, then I think that becomes a really big issue. And I don't think there's any magic answer to any of this. You know, it's just all about communication and just willing to try different things and kind of just focus on putting the kid first. Sometimes in a very sad situation, it's a control thing. With some, you know, if you've ever dated like a narcissist, it's all about control. It's all about like turning the story and making you look like the crazy one. Just a little thing out there. If you're dating an ex, or you're dating somebody and they call their ex crazy, 99.999% of the time, you need to run, because they're no, don't. And if they talk bad about like their mom or the mom of the kid or the dad, it goes both ways, you know, in front of the child, or just be like, oh, you know, whatever. It's like, usually they're the problem. You know what I mean? Like nobody goes around and talking shit. I mean, it's different if you're like venting to your friends, like, oh, this happened and it pissed me off. But if you're legit like saying like, this person's trash, blah, 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 especially right in front of the kid, then there's a problem and there's your first red flag. You know what I mean? Like, so just putting that out there as well. And that has came with experience with me. People are very inconsistent with co-parenting. I found, like, you know, some moms are like, oh, they're doing great. They're being a great dad. They're being a great mom. They're seeing their kid more, like whatever the case is, you know, everybody has a different schedule of their children. And then all of a sudden, like the next month, they're like, you don't even know that they're the parent. And I think that really upsets a lot of parents, because there's like kids need consistency. They need a schedule. They thrive off schedules. And I've noticed this with Willie, like even with like, you know, like bedtime, eating time, you know, not saying like we're like a military home over here, but I'm just saying there is kind of a schedule. And I think Willie really appreciates that. He knows what's going to happen, you know, and I think kids need parents that are consistent. And I think that's the number one reason why a lot of people lose their kids in court, is because they're not consistent parents. And we'll get into court at a different episode as well. I think, you know, like I said, you just want the best for the kids. And if you try to put in the back of your mind that you just want the best for your kid, then, you know, hopefully something will good come out. Nobody's perfect. There will be arguments along the way. There will be fighting. But again, you just come back and you're like, okay, so what's best for my child or children? Like if you have more than one. Another thing, people, you know, why it's so hard to co-parent is, you know, maybe they just don't want to be a parent. I mean, you know, we have to be honest here, because if we're not being honest, then the child suffers. Some people don't want to be a parent. Some people just want to parent, once or twice a month, and then that's it. And sometimes as the other person of the child, like, it's so heartbreaking to me, or like you, whatever, like, I don't know if you guys know what I'm trying to say, because it's like kind of hard to explain, but some people just don't want to be a parent. And I can't understand that as a parent myself, but I've heard from other people, they're like, they just don't want to spend time with my son, or they don't want to spend time with my daughter. And it's like, you cannot control other people. If they don't want to be a parent, let them not be a parent. That child will realize, when they're 18 or whatever, when they're old enough to understand, then that's on that. But you have to give, the only thing that you can do as a co-parent is give them the opportunity to be a parent. If they don't want to parent, don't make them parent. Do not force them to do anything, because then you're just going to like get yourself wrapped up in it. You need to be the best parent for you, and let the other parent decide if they want to be a part of the child's life or if they don't. And it's really sad. Trust me. It's like really sad, but it is what it is at this point in life. And sometimes it's hard because this is not the life you envisioned, but this is reality. And you just have to do the best you can and just take care of yourself and take care of your child, and, try to co-parent. And I'm going to end this soon because I don't want to be too long. But I think as a mother, and ladies, you know what I'm talking about. When you're with your person, right? Like if you're with your father or daughter, son, whatever, like you're with the other person and you have a child together and you're still with each other, you have pretty much control of your child. Because I feel like, at least in my situation, when I was with my son's father, like I had my son 100% of the time. So like I always made choices. Like I'm like, okay, so we're going to go here. This is who is going to watch Willie. Like I was always in control, because I just felt like, okay, I'm the mother in this, you know what I mean? But when you break up with somebody, and I believe this 100%, 90% of people will not leave the other person, especially the moms will not leave relationships, even if they're cheated on or abused or they're in a relationship with a narcissist. And this is exactly why I didn't want to leave my father's son, is because you lose control over your child. Let me repeat that again. You lose control over your child. You know what I mean? Like when my son goes to his father's house, and I love when he goes, because like, he needs a relationship with his dad. I love that. You know what I mean? Like that makes my son happy, whatever. You just lose control. Not saying it's wrong or right, but you don't know who's watching him. You don't know where he's going. You don't know what he's eating, and like as a mother, like, and your child's like 3 years old, you know what I mean? Like it's very, as a mom, like you guys understand, like it's very like, that is your baby. You know what I mean? Like, yes, he needs to spend time with his dad, but you lose control as a mother. And like, I don't know if it's like natural to feel like this, but every other mother I've talked to is like, yeah, that's how I felt. And I think a lot of people stay in like shitty relationships is because they don't know that they'll lose control of their own children, and they can't, you know what I mean? They can't be with them all the time. I've noticed dads don't feel that way as much. I've noticed some dads feel like that, but not all of them. Some of them are like, okay, they're with their mother, they're fine. But then as a mother, you're like, oh my God, like you're like, who's watching my kid? Who's doing this? Is my kid okay? Like we're just more worriers, I think, as mothers. And those are just some points that I wanted to point out. And I just wanted to jump on here and say that this is really hard for me to talk about. But I think it's something that needs to be talked about, and I'm glad that I am talking about it, because it's getting this off my chest. And if I can just help one other person out there, then it, all this matters. And I think a lot of people don't want to talk about this because they feel weak, or, it's not a topic that you want to bring up, but it needs to be brought up. And, if you're listening and you feel the same way, or, you feel, okay, well, I feel that, but I don't feel that, just like, you're normal. It's fine. Life can be a bitch. Trust me. But, it gets better, like Willie's 5 years old. Me and my father's son have been off and on, for a long time. We just like couldn't get along, and just too much drama, like not drama. Well, it was a lot of drama, but too much trauma, that happened. But at this point, we have Willie, and I love Willie. And I think that, you know, co-parenting is hard and it's a long struggle, at least for me. But it's just something you have to work on, and nobody's perfect. And sometimes I need to self-reflect and be like, well, maybe I shouldn't have said it that way, or should I have said it this way? It's like, it's all about, like, again, communication. And I think maybe the next series or rant that I do will be on communication, since it's such a big thing. But all right, guys, well, I'm actually getting ready to take a nap because I have to go to sleep. Guys, I work overnight. And yeah, so it's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon and I need to take a nap because I work at 7 o'clock. But all right, guys, have a good rest of your day.